What is up out there, guys? It looks like everything's up, man. So what a reversal, huh? We've been tracking Bitcoin's progress really nicely, but before we get started on the charts, we're gonna look at a couple of more interesting news regarding latest opinions on DeFi space, on NFTs. A lot of this oversight and insight is beginning to come from outside of crypto. And a lot of the negativity is beginning to occur from inside of crypto. And let's look at why and when does that happen, right? So if you're new to the show, please like and subscribe, and let's get it started. So we're jumping right into Bitcoin charts here. Long struggling on KuCoin. Nice battle at the 50-50 mark, but on our 1 hour, we are treading really nicely. We did have a nice recovery somewhat, but on the long-term scale, looks tiny. So let's get a bigger bowl here going, a deeper cup, but quite the look here. If you look at that, what are we fishing for? Because we got a nice hook. So let's take a more midterm instance here. So on our angles, they're showing us some kind of design here that's going to play out. I mapped this out in 20 point increments here to take a better look at our time frame. So if we do reach the end of this bull, you could be looking at some stronger indications that at some point we need to do something else here, because we went through 2 strong episodes. So we could pass through one more, but after that, and at some point, we're going to need to really start to do something else here with the price. It's just boiling, it's bubbling and brewing. On the cleaner look here, we drew some resistance lines. By the way, all these charts, if you're new to the show again, all these charts we've mapped out these have been the same lines here more or less for the past 2 weeks. So our Bitcoin price is built into our channels that we've been following here really nicely. And same here on a different look. So on the cleaner look, we're building some easier to see resistance lines, but these are hypothetical. These are potential. This is not what's being shown to us, but these are what kind of more or less worst case scenario, what needs to happen here if certain price ranges are being sought. Look to these. I think these are pretty clear indicators, though, that we've reached somewhat of a turning point here. A lot of overflap. Although you see down here, though, right, something wants to take us here maybe. But we haven't even breached this. So do we need to copy this area here? But on the overall, on the Elliott, we've crossed into the wave 1 pretty deeply at this point. But it could be that maybe wave 5 is wanting to resolve better. If it was a C that's already done, then we could be looking at a wave 1 return near 10% already completed. Well, it's less than 10, but no chart's going to map out absolutely perfectly. So if you wanted to satisfy the C, you could have done it there. But you see behavior following our lines really nicely. We're going to continue to follow this perforated trend that we've been watching for quite a while, at least a few weeks now. On a closer look, if you're looking for more of a midterm read, there's no use in forecasting yet. However, on our thirds, if you're looking for a lower third here, we're in it now. Is it going to break down? Now we're trading on the bigger type of resistance here. So our lines that we've been drawing out are probably more of a softer support, harder resistance. But if you're looking at this red line here at 18.5, We had a nice bounce off of it. So we're gonna maybe likely hang out in this lower third here. But if we wanted to, we can project on the speed and do another third, the upper third here, and see where that might take us, right? Because I think we're gonna do in the middle. We're gonna be in the middle at the on the high side right now for the immediate short term, midterm. And yeah, so if you guys got wagged by that recent mini dump there, you know, maybe you're not following me on Twitter, but told you, don't get thrown under the ropes. But yeah, that was definitely a bear trap, right? Because we already know what we've been looking at here. We know that we need to tread this line, although we've been saying that we're gonna be funneling, we're gonna be bouncing up between 21.5 and 17.5. We already had hit a behavior line where there was no indication that it's going to be clear that we needed to go that much down. So let's look back one more time at what our trend angles are telling us. On the degree side, we can probably expect some speed to really ramp up here. You know, we're on the corrective side of the market, but it's very impulsive right now. We've been seeing lead ups, some lead diagonals, just taking us into potentially what we've been calling out here as an expanded trading zone. If we continue to flatten out on this line, though we breached it, you know, it's trying to hook back up. So what that's telling you is that while there's mostly confidence lost, people that are in, you know, we're seeing the infrastructure building. We're seeing the negativity coming from the inside now, and the positivity, or at least crypto talk, coming from the outside. And so at the top of the show, that's what I mentioned. We'll take a look at that. But a lot of these indicators are popping up now, right? So if you're reading between the lines, this is kind of, yeah. It's metaphoric, I guess you could say. Hook, line, and sinker, right? Whose tailor are you letting fit your suit? But yeah, you know, again, drawing this fan out. If you want to do another third here, it's pretty crazy how, yeah, it looks like a crazy person's map too, doesn't it? It looks like a subway. Some metropolis there, but if you fan out this other upper third here, you know, that could be starting to look like what you want to start to look for if we begin to really show some strength. And for strength though, we're going to need volume spikes to average out. We also talked about buffering these spikes a little bit, and I kind of see, you know, it's a little early to say, but I'm seeing that now. So yeah, but trend lines still in play here. So we're still following trend. We can't break it yet. Although there are some there are some coins, like we've been talking about, again, low caps, that are going to lead the market and lag it. And they are, you know, arguably breaking trend. So let's look at Luna Coin. Luna Coin, one of the very few crypto coins right now that's got a great story. All the other stories like Voyager, Celsius, yeah, you know, I don't know if you can really root for those, but Luna Coin, you know, so many people got hurt, and it wasn't looking like that was going to happen, right? And plenty of people had faith even after or during that whole situation. So, you know, and then Luna Classic mostly nearly completely merged. You can still use TerraStation almost exactly how you used to be able to use it. You can still pull on-chain data really nicely. You know, I mentioned the burn calculator, so it gives a clear, or gives us somewhat of an indication that there could be. It makes sense to have a little bit of confidence in the Classic. It's not totally outlandish, and you know, there's more talk about development, and they're playing, the the team behind it, the unofficial team as well, like Vegas and the Strong 12, they're playing the marketing really well. They're timing it really well, and that's what you want to see as an investor, right? So here we have thirds all over the place. Again, another Mad Hatter, but it's really nice to see how these ratios are working out, right? So these price differences are kind of there's no reason for coincidence, I guess, right? But this near 6.5% from this soft resistance here, where I thought 27 was a really strong barrier, and 26 also showed something too. We had to touch that quite a few times there, you see, and then we finally just skyrocketed. So what that would tell me, or at least what would give me a curiosity here to look at it a little bit closer, is to see that price gap, that percentage gap there. So that's about 6.5%, which works out on the matrix really well, right, with our 18-degree angles. And then we have a pop-up, so we didn't even have to touch this upper third, and this middle third, we're living in the upper third here really nicely. And our trend that's hashed out from the log really up, shooting straight through here, stretches out really nicely. And this could be letting us know, because this is all like, this is open land up here. This is the galaxy, and Luna Classic is maybe charting new territory here. So we're pioneering with this price up here. And I think that this is the only kind of thing that I'd go off of right now, as far as showing us, maybe giving us a glimpse of what's coming up here. Another thing to look at, a little bit new here, but again, this is very rough, not doing anything stable here. But I thought it was a kind of a interesting pattern being formed here, where we have nearly just over 16% increases. So just because this rise is so meteoric, so I'm trying to figure out, or at least I'm just curious to see if there's a way to pattern this out, and kind of maybe get a little bit more of an in-depth look as to what's going on here. There's nothing really telling me too much about it, except that it is following somewhat of a pattern here. So we have slightly more than 16% on the average increase at each moment. So at every increment across the hash, or time frame on our speed, we're jumping up nearly 16% each time. And at each corner at 16%, we're finding some soft or hard, support and resistances. And then you start to see something wanting to trade there, right? Mountain climbs, straight up, cliff hanging, boom. And then we got trade zones. 16 up, 16 up, 16 up, 16 up, 16 up, 16 up. It looks like every two increments we got trade zones. 1, 2, trade. 1, 2, trade. So what is that telling us? Is that telling us we're gonna have another 2 16s up, moon, and then trade up again? We'll look at it on the show, so I'll keep it here. But overall, Luna Classic just showing some strength. And what's really good about Luna Classic too is that it's bringing us back into the market. It's showing that there's confidence still here, right? Low caps lead and lag, and that's exactly what's happening. So we talked about rest of the market tends to follow the king, Bitcoin, and but Solana entering kingship in its own right, for sure. Especially with Ethereum, maybe we're going to start to really see this feudal world really take foot with crypto, and Solana could be starting a kingdom here. And yeah, so is this a 3 that we're needing to extend out here, or are we looking for 5 to resolve? It was looking like we were heading for 5 for sure to be done. But if we have a 3 here, that doesn't necessarily tell us that we're going to have to come down more. Although Elliott Wave, may or may not want to log that. But on the longer term picture, we don't know exactly where we are, as is the test of time. But in order to complete some of the theories, we do want to see 5 at least resolved. So it looks like something's trying to take us down, although we're reaching an extended flat here maybe, and that could exhaust some bullishness, as we mentioned yesterday. But we got some nice layers going on. So patterns working out, behavior is always working out really nicely. We talked about being able to bounce around in this mid or actually lower third, or mid third, yeah, sorry. And upper is giving us a nice trend here about what could possibly happen, and the lower third also would follow. Looks like patterning out really, really nicely there. But extend right on there. But I'm gonna just remove that. That was just for fun. But we like to have fun here on the show. But I'll keep this 62 here, and we'll see what happens. But this is indicating more or less that something needs to happen in a time frame inside this schedule. So if you want to do a third here and give yourself a little bit easier ramp to travel, go ahead. But I'll leave that there. And as for Solana, if you're looking for like maybe a more definitive answer on that one, go and see your local tarot reader. But we talked about mid-20s in early parts of September. We're entering the early parts of September, about halfway now into that 2-week mark that we've been talking about several shows ago. So is it going to happen? It's not, there's nothing that's telling us that's not still the path we're on here. But if market strength keeps continuing the way it's happening now, maybe we won't. And as yesterday I mentioned that this here and this doubling up here is giving me more of an idea on the opinion that we don't have to go lower. But that's when you start to have that more likely scenario, and the least likely is what tends to occur. House Financial Services Committee will move on from talking about stablecoins from now, and most likely crypto in general. So another year of non-legislative activity addressing crypto, really, really positive. Could be why we're seeing the mini pump right now. Everything going green. We still have Powell to address interest rates. And so we have some people now chiming in. Helen Braun from the Fed Reserve, one of the officials there, she's mentioning that there could be more hawkish news coming out of the Fed with Powell and more increases on interest rates. And that'll be bad for Bitcoin. Nah, opposite for Bitcoin, right? Really, really positive for Bitcoin. That's where people will put their money in non-inflation susceptible currency and or assets, and Bitcoin is a real item, and there's no inflation, right? It's like real estate. It's like a store of value. Immediate short term, yeah, people associate or something, panic or whatever, trying to wag you by dumping, but Bitcoin is an asset where people will go because of things like inflation, because of high interest rates. So here we have the Vice President, Michael Barr of Fed Reserve, saying that we need to regulate crypto more, and in his quote unquote words, control it. I mean, regulation is not control. And NFTs are more like banks. NFTs will be the banks. Crypto fungible tokens are different from currency. And so that leads to like a little bit more existential arguments about what cryptocurrency exactly is, and why some people don't like using the term currency and crypto. Ari Jules, chief scientist at Chainlink Labs, professor at Cornell, talking about NFTs. I quote Ari Jules, "NFTs will in any case continue to evolve in powerful and exciting ways. Like it or not, they are something, and they are a cultural force that is here to stay." Exactly what we've been talking about on this show. NFTs haven't even begun to address its really meaningful use cases. On these webinars, research, advertisements, and things like that, we're starting to see some NFTs rather than docs pictures. So kind of funny, but is it possible that NFTs sometime NFT collections themselves, they become so recognizable, so familiar, because there's so many NFT projects, there's so many NFTs out there, there's different kinds, one-on-ones, utility, and things like that, and those differences will continue to really distinguish one from the next. We saw some talk on the NFT market about oversaturation of NFTs hitting the market. Is it going to soften the value of art? That talk quickly went away. However, in the long run, will it become the type of world where we can start to use them in this sort of manner, and identify the actual person with the NFT on a mass market? Will someone who's not so familiar, will they be able to recognize who this is? Here we have a potential Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act, DCCPA. This is not exciting for me, in my point of view. I don't want to see no protection acts. That's just ripe for loopholes and exploitation and taking advantage of the market. There's other better, more forthright, more straightforward ways of addressing protection of consumers in crypto in any market. You can put accountability and incentivize accountability on businesses and business practice by improving taxes, improving tax benefits, improving Medicare, offering Medicare for one, improving the job sector, making it more accessible, things like that. And another news, FTX partnering with GameStop. In a down market, you start to have bad actors and bad business fall off. And FTX is just growing, taking on a market share the way they are. It's impressive. I posted something similar to this on my Twitter several months ago, before the whole gas oil thing in California or whatever, and Russia too. But it was I was really intrigued by something that Raul Paul said, where a major misconception of gas prices going up often is that like there's an embargo or a squeeze on supply, but he was saying it's rather demand that, regardless of the event, is what's increasing the price. And so that's what led me to look into renewable markets and things like that a little bit more. And I thought that the projections on renewable markets in the industry and the way that it was going to be thought or forecasted to grow was just really eye-opening. And I think crypto and NFTs has a lot to do with the renewable energy market, and might arguably be one and the same industry, right? You see that with mining, and mining might be a big part of contributing to this growth. Not might, it likely will be, especially with the success and continued success of crypto. So I think these projections are extremely important for us to look at. So I'll be taking a look a little bit more down the road at this from time to time, and I'll bringing these things up. But here you see, this is from a consensus in 2020 and reported in 2021. But the projected growth over nearly 30 years is at 50%, near 50% growth, just over 40. So that's massive. And I think that in short order, this percentage will probably increase by at least some magnitude there. For the next several years, it'll be way more than this, I believe. Especially with more options and more manufacturing being developed, and crypto, for one, continuing to grow. All right, guys, so maybe you're familiar with birdeye.so, birdeye.so, but one of the really fun things that I used to really enjoy, but I stopped quite a bit ago, was trading NFT coins, and made some pretty interesting moves earlier in the year or late last year, And one of the ones that really caught my eye was Milk Coin from Utter Chaos. You know, I sold my cows already. I've been trying to do so for quite a while. Yeah, I took what I could get. I got in way too high. I like the Utter Chaos project though a lot. I like the team and stuff like that. It was nothing really like that. I just think that, you know, buyers who buy on higher amounts of SOL, you know, should be looked at in you know, more progressively than is the case lately with versus accumulating. You know, but although it's very respectable to be holding and have early conviction, and that's the main thing for sure that should lead a market. But when you have major pullbacks like you did and you're a major project, I think that you should, you know, adopt some different strategies and start to understand whether you're an investment or a business. And, you know, those will give you some idea of what kind of business practice you should be engaging in. But pretty cryptic. I don't want to be too down on anything. That's why. And, yeah, I like the project, and it has nothing really like that about it. But Milkcoin though, man, that was a fun trade, and this was a nice rocket here. But kind of just wanted to point this out to you guys. You know, somewhat forgotten, but not by some, but maybe by more. That there are NFT coins out there and they are tradable. So Milk One was a cool one that I wanted to highlight. Although, if I'm looking at this now, you know, could see some release here on the Milk Coin, and after the Utes raffle, but yeah. And overall, Magic Eden, in particular, trading volume, reacting really well to the major plays recently in Solana NFTs. You know, with other super hype mints, you saw massive consolidation, you know, and funneling of money into a single project, and other projects, you know, taking deep dives. Utes, you know, not so much. And is it worth commending on that side, Ute side, or was it a lot of anti-Ute activity? You know, I'm not necessarily to think about it in that way. Just overall, really good to see the Solana market and everybody. You know, there's a lot of projects that are doing really well, pumping right now, so it's good to see everybody's getting some liquidity back, hopefully, and able to start making some moves again, right? Because you know, a lot of, at least speaking for myself, was inching towards a spiral, you know, and that's why I started to really move back to what was really my strength all along, which is crypto. Although, you know, I really love NFTs, so hopefully this continues to grow. But I don't want to eat away my net worth too much, right? So, and yeah, things like Kikiverse, like making this map top 10, that's awesome. You know, we were talking about Kikiverse a lot on this show. I didn't get it after talking about Kikiverse so much on this show. I didn't get in. You know, we were watching it from 0.1-ish, and it pumped up. It's like at 5 SOL plus right now. That's awesome for you guys, and super cool to see Kikiverse. Really, really interesting project. One of the very few that has a really strong chance to operate on a meaningful level outside of the NFT ecosystem. So good art too. Really approachable on the broader scale. So lot to look forward to if you're in Kikiverse, and that now includes floor price. So yeah, cool. And then Just Worms, pretty newly minted, I think just yesterday. I missed that one. You know, doing and working on the show and things like that, trying to build some good, interesting content, talking points. But yeah, I don't just pump my own bags and talk about my own projects in here. I like to talk about whatever's, you know, probably gonna make it, right? And Kikiverse was one for sure. So yeah, and Solana, look at this, 1 million away from Ethereum's total sales on the mark. On the mark. Look at that transaction account right there, almost 200,000. Can you guys imagine when Solana starts to take some value back on the price? You know, Ethereum with a 2.0 merger coming up, you know, there's some speculation that it's going to do nothing for gas prices. You know, that's not entirely true. It's going to change the way the you know, the audit and the bids work on gas. You know, we talked about it somewhat. Maximum extraction value and stuff like that here on the show a little bit, but yeah, you know, it might not have a as great effect as some people are hoping, as where others are, you know, looking at it from a different lens. And so we don't really know. We have to see it in action, see it in operation. So the real thing, though, the real talk is what price is going to be on ETH, right? And how this merger or you know, 2.0 upgrade is gonna affect the price. Are people gonna, you know, how's the market gonna react, right? And I think a lot of it's gonna be dependent on how Ethereum actually works, you know, afterwards. So it's possible you might not see very much action as much as anticipated on Ethereum. Actually, so that gives me a good idea. We'll look at the chart on Ethereum probably tomorrow and see, you know, possibly 2,000 could be in the cards, but we gotta take a look. So a lot of ABC plays lately. A lot of them are, just a handful of them are doing extremely well, and I'm no, you know, I'm no exception to wanting to mess around in some degenerate activity, right, on NFTs. So ABCs, I thought, you know, caught my eye. I like aliens, so we'll see. But nothing new here, really. You know,